So I've been in that seat more times than I care to admit. I think it's important that we realize that winning isn't ego. It's about credibility for us, right? We've gotten into these rooms where we want people to see us a certain way. We want them to see that we have earned our seat at the proverbial table.
Yeah.
So for us, I think it's important, and I had to make this midway through my career. I won't say early on, but midway through my career, I had to shift from moving to where I need them to see that I'm right to more of I need them to see how I think. So my advice is stop trying to win the point and start winning the room. They look at us and say, oh, they're arrogant. Oh, they're this. If you're always constantly trying to prove your point, you basically are telling them I'm still auditioning to be in the room.
So Alicia, in Marshall Goldsmith's book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, the principles he's talking about are tendencies people develop while they're trying to climb the corporate ladder that won't get you to the next level once you start like venturing into leadership and those type of things. And you actually have to take a different approach.
Right.
And he outlines 20 bad habits that people develop, even though there's a lot of truth to what he speaks about for marginalized communities, Black professionals, for example. For a lot of us, our experience is a little different, and we have to approach his habits from a different angle. And one of those was winning too much. So, and what he means by winning too much is when you feel like you have to win every battle, your idea has to be the one that's selected. You have to be right.
Yep.
Okay. So as Black professionals, often in corporate America, we're trying to prove ourselves and we feel like we have a bar to cross to demonstrate we belong in our competency. Right. So for us, yielding and not winning in those situations can feel like it's a setback professionally for us. How do we navigate that? And how do we determine what's winning too much and what's necessary for us to demonstrate we belong in the room?
Yeah. So I've been in that seat more times than I care to admit. I think it's important that we realize that winning isn't ego. It's about credibility for us, right? We've gotten into these rooms where we want people to see us a certain way. We want them to see that we have earned our seat at the proverbial table.
Yeah.
So for us, I think it's important, and I had to make this midway through my career. I won't say early on, but midway through my career, I had to shift from moving to where I need them to see that I'm right to more of I need them to see how I think. Because the think part they can respect, especially if your thinking adds value. That's where you make them, that's where you have an impact. That's where you make a difference. So if you can shift your brain from, I need to win this point to prove to them that I've earned my seat at the table, to I need to just let them see how I think so that they then expect that type of thinking all the time and they look to me for that. That's great. So my advice is stop trying to win the point and start winning the room. So you understand the issue and point people toward what actually matters.
So your goal shifts from winning the point to demonstrating value.
Yes,
is that
absolutely.
Accurate?
That's absolutely accurate, because then you're taking the ego part, which is, I'm sure we'll touch that at some point later in this conversation. They look at us and say, oh, they're arrogant. Oh, they're this. If you're always constantly trying to prove your point, you basically are telling them I'm still auditioning to be in the room.
And signaling that you question whether or not you believe you're in the room and you're having
Absolutely.
And you're pressing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it actually backfires, right? It actually backfires and becomes a negative perception, so to speak.
Okay. Because you're trying too hard.
You're trying. Dude, just pull up a little bit. Pull up a little bit.
Relax a little bit.
Relax
a little bit.
But that also requires you to have a professional maturity that you can do that. And then you can't concern yourself with what they think. You have to have a certain intention of what you want them to think about you. And then if they don't, you have to back up and you have to go and re-strategize for the next conversation. But you constantly leaning in that one conversation is not helping you at all.
Okay. Are there maybe situations where, because of it's a little PTSD, because of
Mhm.
past experiences, we're assuming how people perceive us in a certain light, and maybe that's not the case?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and maybe we shoot ourselves in the foot because the person already believes in us. They gave us the opportunity, and we're still trying to prove we belong to be what belong there, right?
Right. I always say take back your own agency. This is your career. You determine the outcome. Yes, these people have a play, these people have some input, but the agency is around how you feel about how you're showing up. And you need to be real clear on how you want to show up and do it consistently. The
Okay.
consistency matters, right?
Okay. So being clear in what you want to represent, what you bring to the table,
Yep.
and confident in securing yourself and
Yes.
doing that self work so you can show up that way.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And when you're good with that, when you're grounded in that, that helps because often that confidence is seen as arrogance, right? Oh, the nuance we dance every
Yeah.
day, every
Yeah.
minute of the day.
It's tough. It,
Exhausting.
it's hard. It's hard because you say don't if you say don't worry about what other people think about you, that's not completely fair
Right.
because um, other people's perception of you is influencing your career trajectory because they're
Hmm.
assessing your performance. It
Right.
determines like access to opportunities that people will or will not put in front of you, right?
Yep.
So you do have to navigate that to a degree, but it shouldn't be so heavy in how you make your decisions that you're unable to show up as your full self and bring yourself to the table and all the assets and things that you bring, right?
Correct.
So, like you said, very nuanced. You have to pay attention to it, but you can't
Hmm.
be consumed by it.
Exactly.
Early in your career, I think there is a degree of kind of proving yourself, right?
Hmm.
And then there's a point at which you transition to Marshall's principles where you want to start to apply those in your career. How do you know you're in that place where you kind of need to change it up a little bit from what's required early in your career to mid-career to get to that next level?
Yeah. I think that's a hard because that's something you have to read internally. But I think you have certain signals that you have reached that level. When people are coming to you for your input, you've earned a level of trust. They want your insights. They want to know what you think, and again, getting them to think about how you think versus you winning a point. So when they coming to you for advice and your input and your insights, when you are actually making a difference in the ultimate decisions that are made, the insights that you add are making a difference. Those are the signals that you are actually getting to that point where you are seen the way you want to be seen. But again, consistency is the key. You have to be that thinker and that strategic leader the whole time so that
Yeah.
they begin to think that way about you. I always say, what do you want people to think, feel, say, and do? Right? What
Okay.
do you want? How do you want to make them feel? What do you want them to think about you? What do you want them to say? But I say, don't even think about what you just want them to say. What do you want them to say in rooms that you are not in?
Okay.
And then what do you want them to do? You want them to come to you, that you want them to include you. You want them to seek you in the room, right?
Right.
So those are the keys, I think that are really important.
Okay. So, and level of responsibility granted to you is a factor in there as well, because once you start to, even if you don't have direct reports, once you're
Right.
starting to lead other people, run projects, lead and
Hmm.
facilitate teams, right?
Yep.
Whether cross-functionally or whatever. Once you're starting to do that, I think those are maybe some signs that maybe some of Marshall's principles could apply, even if nuanced and you have to kind of tweak it a little bit for our experience.